Welcome back to Project Jones. This week we're going to be covering our spring and summer upgrades here in the tunnel. As you can see, we're in full grown season now. Everything's blooming, everything's looking massive and Jurassic and dark green. So we had a couple of questions from one of our last videos, which was, do you get any algae growth in your LFT racks? And over winter we weren't getting very much at all, but come spring obviously there's a lot more light and it warms up and we were starting to get a bit. So we have done an upgrade which we think, if you're doing a build, is probably going to be the way to go. The traditional NFT system is normally made from pipe, and there's one major problem with that, and that is when you've drilled your holes for your plants to sit in, those holes are then fixed, so the amount of plants that you can get on each rack is going to be set. Then what we did is we went with gutters. They're a little bit more flexible, so you do need a little bit more support in them. However, now that we've upgraded these gutter covers, it means that we have complete flexibility with the size of plants that we put in, how many we have in, and it just gives us a lot more flexibility with our growing room. So what we actually have is these plastic covers that just slot into the gutters. So starting from little 1-inch covers here, plants don't actually have a basket. Literally you just put the plugs in and they're just suspended, the roots just hang in the water. Then going up to a 2-inch and a 3-inch, right up to your full grown plants, which we have here. And then of course when they get to that size you start getting the little gaps in between, so we've got blanks as well, so there shouldn't be anywhere where there's light getting through now on these systems, and it's made a huge difference, hardly getting any algae growth whatsoever now. So alongside the new gutter covers that we've put in, we've also put in a filter which just works on gravity. This basically will just collect any sort of residue that might come off the roots, any little bits of debris, any algae growth if there is any, bugs, if there's any in the system, and it just keeps everything lovely and clear in this system so that we get the healthiest roots possible. So as the plants work their way through the life cycle and they gradually get bigger, then we can pull them apart and they've got all the extra room to spread out then, so that all the leaves are getting plenty of light no matter where they are on the rack. So upgrade number 2 is we've now put in some cress beds along the bottom here. So as you can see, they're just gravity fed, cascading down through the same gravel that we're using in our flood and drain beds, and they're doing absolutely brilliant as well. As you can see, they're very happy. So effectively now this hydroponic side is actually the nutrients and the water is actually travelling down through 7 different levels now, from the top all the way down to the sump tank. So with the watercress, it likes quite shallow and it likes to spread out, so we've just simply used these big seed trays, and as you can see we've just got the small hydroponic feed pipes here that will just drip feed in at one end, and then it comes through and just runs all the way through to the end, and then there's a return pipe that comes all the way back here into our sump tank where it starts the whole process again. Very simple to set up, very, very cheap again. So if you're thinking about growing cress, anything that likes really shallow growing space, then this is probably going to be an answer. So our upgrade number 3 this year was introducing a ladybird colony into the polytunnel, and that was purely just to keep down on the green fly that made it in here. And we did probably release around 150 to 200 ladybirds gradually at the beginning of the growing season, and they've been doing a fantastic job in here. There's been a lot less green fly this year, as well as obviously combing through the plants and making sure that they are clear of bugs. The ladybirds do a fantastic job, although saying that, we're trying to find some now and we can't find any, so they're obviously busy tucked away somewhere. So upgrade number 4, we've done some alterations and upgraded the pipes on the hydroponics for the NFTs, this rack and the racks behind you. So originally we had a manifold up here with all of our 6mm feed pipes coming off. So what we've put in now is we've put in the 25mm polyurethane pipe, which is the same as the rest of the system, and use this as the main feed to get it to the start of the NFT runs. Then coming off those, originally we had a lot of clear pipe and blue pipe, which was obviously a lot more prone for algae growth and getting gunked up. So we swapped that all out now for black hydroponic pipe. You can get that on Amazon or any good hydroponic supply store. So we'll put some links below. So the good thing about the black hydroponic pipe is actually it's actually quite a bit cheaper than your regular airline pipe. So another thing to consider. Upgrade number 5, although it's not really an upgrade, it's sort of an ongoing process, is how we make our plant feed for the polytunnel. So at the moment we are using an organic seaweed feed and an organic tomato feed. We'll link those in the description. But our main source of nitrogen for the plants comes from our own brew, and we purely use stinging nettles because they're in absolute abundance this time of year here. So we've got 2 big rainwater barrels, and we basically just fill those full of stinging nettles, and they'll rot down over about 2 weeks. It'll all be gone. And then at the moment we're filtering what comes out of here through this little filter here, but we're going to turn this barrel here into a bigger filter just to make the whole process a little bit quicker, and we'll filter that 4 times, and that's simply just to get it down to this nice liquid juice. The reason we filter that is to take out any solids, any fibres that are left in, and also any eggs that might have been laid in here, because if you don't filter out what you're making in here, then it's going to end up hatching in there, and that's going to make things a lot harder in the long run. So something else to think about. So at the moment we're adding around 30 to 40 litres of this feed into the system a week. As you can see by the results, the plants are absolutely thriving on it. So these are just literally out the back of the polytunnel, out the way, because the smell is pretty horrendous. And the other reason for filtering it as well is it takes a lot of the smell out. So by the time we add this to the system, it's not going to stink in there, because that's not nice to work in at all. So upgrade number 6 is we invested in this little nutrient tester here. We'll link it in the description. Basically this will just tell you what your nutrient levels are sat at in your system. It doesn't tell you the chemical composition breakdown, just to make sure that there's enough feed in the system for all the plants. It just measures the electrical conductivity, and you can download the charts off the internet, which will tell you if you need to add more or less. So we just put it in here, and then it'll tell you where you're sat at. So at the moment this is actually telling us that our aquaponics are sitting a little bit low, so maybe a little bit too efficient with our filter system at the moment, or we need to get a couple more fish back in there just to boost it up a little bit. Just to demonstrate the difference between these 2 systems at the moment, if we just big difference there. The system's a lot more nutrient dense at the moment, which we expected. Okay, so upgrade number 7. On the aquaponic side, we originally had these 2 big flood and drain beds, and then these 3 raft tanks all running on the system. However, we have decided this year to move those 3 raft beds onto the hydroponic system. The reason for that is because obviously the nutrient levels on this side aren't sufficient at the moment to supply this whole side, and everything's doing a lot better now we switched it over. We also had not a flow rate problem, but we've kind of had a rejig of these raft beds down here now, and what we've done is we've actually staggered them. So you can see it's higher at this end than it is at this end. Before it was one level and the flow rate was a lot slower than it is now. Now that we've staggered it, it's a lot quicker. We've had a little change round with the pipe work as well, with the inlets and the outlets, just so that we can stir these beds up a little bit more so that water circulates as it goes through them. But as you can see, everything's very, very happy at the moment, and it's obviously a lot less demanding on the aquaponic system. Let's get on to our aquaponics side. At the moment now we are just running these two big flood and drain beds. You see we've got tomatoes growing here at the moment. Behind me we've got courgettes and cucumbers. Because we're off-grid, obviously all of our pumps are run off solar power, and as we've touched on before in previous videos, the aquaponic side of the system uses a huge amount of power compared to the hydroponic side, which you can run on the whole thing on a tiny pump. So we're actually considering getting rid of the aquaponics on this side now, purely because of efficiency with the solar system. It's done a fantastic job, you know, it's been a success, we've made it work. However, going forward, just to be more efficient with our power usage and also just our general energy consumption and maintenance, getting rid of this and converting all this now onto hydroponics as well is going to make a lot more sense for us. If you're still on mains feed and you're thinking of doing aquaponics, great, go for it. We're still going to grow fish. We're going to actually transfer these into a new growing tank which we'll be building down the road, which we will take you along on at some point when we do that build. Right guys, so that's all for part one of our upgrades. In part two we're going to be going through all of our solar system upgrades, so please come back. Remember to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for your support.